Folks, I'm going to keep it simple. Cord Killers is our other show where we figure out how this whole crazy world of streaming works. And this is the show when we've actually watched stuff that we talk about it. It's Spoilerin Time. This week on Spoilerin Time, She-Hulk Season 1, Episode 8, Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 6, and Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 7. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
And joining us for, I believe, all 3 episodes will be one Meryl Bar.
Yes, all 3.
Not
I am all
3
caught up,
Meryl
and I'm
bars.
excited for all of them.
Same Meryl Bar in each episode, right?
Tom, I say, and then this is my choice, let's start with Lower Decks.
All right. That's what you want to do. That is what the rundown says. So, okay. Star Trek.
Just let me have this. Just let me have this moment of fake agency.
I was faked out because I was looking at the line with the date, and She-Hulk is first there, and then I looked at the actual rundown. And I was like, "Oh, there we go." Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 7, where we are in mathematically perfect redemption. A wayward Starfleet ensign struggles to find a path to redemption.
Am I a bad person that I had no memory of that robot?
No, because it happened at the end of Season 1. If it was last season, but the only
I
reason
remembered
is
the
because
name.
The only reason I remember Peanut Hamper and didn't actually remember Peanut Hamper's name as well was because I love this show so much. I've rewatched it a couple times, so I have very strong memories of Peanut Hamper. But no, Ryan, you are not a bad person.
So going into it, I was like, what is it? They did the previously on, or I think, and I was like, what is this? I have no memory of this crazy robot that just pieced out. I do remember everything that Peanut Hamper watched, and then we see the first time that they've altered the opening credits to be all about Peanut Hamper, and then I look at the title, A Mathematically Perfect Redemption, and it clicks. I wonder if this is a redemptive arc for Peanut Hamper.
It almost was. Yeah.
Almost.
And
almost got away with it. And
I had the same thing in reverse, Brian. I remembered the name Peanut Hamper. And then when I saw the robot, I was like, oh, right. That was that throwaway joke where they were going to rely on it and it pieced out. And then it kept going. And I was like, but I don't remember this part. I'm like, oh, because we're going to see the story of what happened to Peanut Hamper. And that was fun. It was super fun to just be away from the Cerritos for the entire time. I enjoyed that they took that risk. It was a fun story.
And it turns out that when you're away from the Cerritos, you just turn into a Rick and Morty episode where you
a bad Rick and Morty episode.
Oh, okay, all right.
A bad Rick and Morty episode.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Let us have it, Bryce. Go ahead.
Not enough Trek references for Bryce.
You know what I like about character development is when I undo all of it.
What do you mean?
She does. The Peanut Hamper at the end of this episode rejects all of that.
but that's.
It was what? It's what? It's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea, just generally speaking. I don't think that's good enough.
She didn't. No. She didn't reject it. Her goal. She had a sinister goal. The twist is, she was always had a sinister goal from the jump. She was always planning this. Everything she did was to get to a place where she could call the Cerritos and have them come watch her be a hero so that she could get back into Starfleet. But it was always bullcrap. Like it was never genuine. She never was genuinely seeking redemption. Let me also say this. I'm so proud of our show, our little show, because it's grown up. And if you think about it, they're almost 30 episodes in. This is right around the time where if we were doing like a longer seasons, you'd start to do the weird one-off episode that didn't really follow our main characters, and we looked at something else in the world.
Unlike this one.
No, I think your point is that it's interesting that they did that when they have a shorter season. Yeah,
because it's now that we've had so much Lower Decks the last few years that they're now comfortable to. We don't. Oh, you know what? We don't have to focus on Boymes and Mariner this episode and Tendi and Rutherford. We can go somewhere else, and they did, and I thought it was great. And I think that the fun twist with Peanut Hamper that nope, she's still a bad robot is great, and then at the end where she ends up in the robot jail is wonderful.
I mean, that's the significant part, is that now we've placed her next to the other world domineering robot in jail, so the two cellmates can be an outside vector that can come in later. I don't know.
I want to answer, not answer so much as like give my observation on Bryce's issue with this, because I think there's two things going on that made me okay with it, but I think they don't work for everyone, and Bryce is one of the everyone's in this case.
Everyone is Bryce. Bryce is everyone.
One of the things Lower Decks does, and they usually do it very well, is we're going to lead you to believe that we're going to do the boring expected thing, and then we're not. We're going to convince you 2 + 2 is 5, and then reveal it's 4 in reverse. And they did that here, but they did it in a way that you could look at it and think, but you're just doing it to do it. It's not, it's fun when you do it and then there's something else behind it. But this just feels like, haha, tricked you. You thought it was a redemptive arc because we named the show that, but we didn't. And that could feel hollow, and I could see where that would upset you. I took it as, and this is entirely my own injection into it, I'm not trying to claim this is what they intended. I took it as, well, of course, Peanut Hamper. The worry with machine intelligence is always that machine intelligence will not be guided by a morality. The machine intelligence won't have emotions. Machine intelligence will do what is perfectly practical, and usually that takes that takes the direction of, and therefore machine intelligence turns everything into gray goo, or machine intelligence eliminates the humans. In this case, I kind of love that they're like, yeah, if a machine intelligence doesn't have a sense of morality, doesn't have an ethics, it'll just do whatever is best for it. It'll be incredibly selfish. And they took that to the extreme, and I kind of like that.
On counterpoint, it's a common thing in the variety arts to claim you're going to do an incredible stunt, and then do something that technically satisfies it, but not really. For example, E3 25 years ago, I went there, and EA had a new boxing game coming out, and they had a boxing ring set up, and they had all these posters saying Sugar Ray Leonard was going to box, it was somebody pretty famous, let's say Evander Holyfield, it doesn't matter. And they were promoting it as straight as could be. And then they had a microphone come down, and the guy announced in the ring, and then they both showed up. I was there, and I was like, Jesus, that's Sugar Ray Leonard, that's Evander Holyfield. And then the two of them picked up controllers and played the game. So that's how I felt with the called shot of a mathematically perfect redemption. And it's like, wow, if you're changing the intro, if you're calling this shot, and sure enough, by the numbers, I enjoyed the bulk of the episode, but I'll not lie, Bryce, I did feel like, at the end.
Yeah, and we just deflated it again?
Is the bulk of your complaints about the end or the whole thing?
The end. I mean, the writing's fine. The writing's good. It's a different style because it's this different type of story. But in general, yeah, the ending really left me flat for that reason. And I think, Tom, you've got good subtext to it. Like, yeah, robots operate on a different level of morality. But also, I wish that had been represented as anything other than this like this kind of vapid Valley Girl sort of archetype of a character, which I thought underserved any of those themes.
I am so shocked I'm the Bryce of this episode.
Well, I think I'm the Bryce of this episode.
Pretty sure Bryce is
because
the
I could
Bryce
not
of
be
this.
in more disagreement with everyone. Like I loved all of it. I loved everything about it, and the ending to me, I don't believe the better ending is Peanut Hamper is actually redeemed. I think the better ending is
no, you're right. They did fail to make good on their claim. That was the literal title of the episode.
Yeah, but I don't.
A mathematically perfect redemption is no real redemption at all. So to me, they did make good on the title of the episode.
All right, Mr.
I'm the Meryl Barr of this episode.
The whole episode is setting up, like it's playing it unironically, like, she's a bad character, but you know what? She's kind of figuring it. She's learning what it's like on the
fun. That's the fun of it.
I
That's the show.
Oh, no, no,
we've
no,
been
no.
watching for 3
Meryl, I
years.
think you're misunderstanding. We didn't.
the middle part is good.
Yes, yes. It's the ending that left a bad taste in Bryce's mouth. And I must admit, in this case, I was in general very positive, but I'm being swayed to that was a disappointing ending.
Oh, I'm not. I still loved the ending. And the reason I loved the ending is because the alternate was bad. I thought, oh, so what are we going to do? Is she just going to go back to the Cerritos? Is she going to get back? Like, how do you end? I was like, how do you end this reasonably? How do you end this satisfying in the lower decks way and subvert my expectations? And that was the only thing they could do.
Yeah. Now, having said all that, I rather enjoyed the the bizarre, confused courtship of a bird person and a robot.
That's when it became very Rick and Morty, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bird people.
See,
Mike! Hey, Mike McMahon! Hey, Rick and Morty
When
guy!
an
Hey.
intelligent machine and a bird person love each other very much.
We'll figure it out. I was like, right. I would say I loved 95% of this episode, and I wished that there was a different place. I guess all I'm saying is I too felt like, oh man, at that no progress was made.
And it does, and there's a way to do that. I think there's a way that we can end up in that same place where Peanut Hamper is kind of this wild card on the loose again. I just don't like the way we got there. This script. I just don't like the way that this got here that way.
All right. Well, there you go. My criticism is not enough Mariner and Tendi. That is Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 7. Let's talk about Rick and Morty, Season 6, Episode 6, Jurassic Mort.
Like Jurassic Park.
They're
Well,
really,
no,
they're really
they
stretching
already
with these
did a
titles.
play on Jurassic Park.
Did they?
In season 1. Yeah.
Our scientists are looking at.
But I guess they're
Premise-
doing it.
premise
They're
of
doing
this
it
one is
again
that-
because there's dinosaurs. Yeah.
Yeah. Dinosaurs show up as super intelligent beings that are perfectly well adjusted and decide that humanity is not mature enough to take care of itself. So they'll just fix all its problems so humanity can do what it does best, which is waste time entertaining themselves.
So this reminded me, and I wonder how much of it is directly attributable to, there was a Harmontown episode where it might have been Justin Roiland or who's the guy that did Midnight Gospel?
Oh, the regular show guy, right?
No, Midnight Gospel. He's got the voice and he does cry.
Duncan Trussell.
Yeah, Duncan Trussell. One of them were on, and they were talking about the future of AI, where truly benevolent AI would eventually take such good care of humans that humans wouldn't have to lift a finger. We would essentially become dogs, right? And it felt like they were just using dinosaurs instead of
As the
AI,
benevolent AI.
and doing the exact same thing, which I was instantly fascinated by and enjoyed it. Much like I'm realizing in parallel to the Lower Decks episode, didn't really care for the rather abrupt tidying up of, anyway, portals are back, the rift is sealed. Do you feel hollow and angry? So does Rick. That's it.
No, go ahead, Meryl. Please go.
Go ahead.
We need you.
Why am I the disagreeer of everybody this episode of Spoilerin Time? I love that. Like, cause that's literally that's a Rick and Morty move through and through. That's exactly the kind of thing they do. Like, oh yeah, guess what? The portal works now. We're back to the serialized adventure, the canonical stuff. That Rick, don't worry about it. Like that is what they do. And if anything, this whole season, as you guys said after the season premiere, was all about a reset of the canon. Like moving everyone back to their respective dimensions, and then they come back, and now they're back to the field. They're a different dimension. They have the rift now. Like that's like, how did you not love that?
Well, because
Oh my God.
Meryl, you're 100% correct in yes, it is in Rick and Morty's playbook to make abrupt, hard left moves. However, they are usually deeply satisfying and make you feel an emotional swell that makes you happy. This one did not. It made me feel like they just, like I was made the sucker. And if there's one thing the founder of Scam School doesn't want to be, it's the sucker.
Kind of like how Bryce felt about Star Trek Lower Decks.
I also didn't love this Rick and Morty because
For
of
the
the
same
ending.
reason?
And again, 95% of it.
Otherwise, a good episode. The dinosaurs are great. The idea
I
is
love
really
when they
good.
give Rick the portal gun. Before they fix the portal guns, they give him a portal gun that's
portal gun that's
translucent.
better.
And Rick spitefully destroys it.
And that's
Yeah.
what's really frustrating about this episode is that clearly there's some sort of inner reflection that you shouldn't take from the situation presented here. And the end of this episode explicitly says, nah, I'm not doing that. No, you can write a blog post about it. Thank you very much. I'm not breaking, which is really frustrating because this could have been a moment for character development, maybe, if we're doing some of the stories.
I did love that the dinosaurs were above everything. They were well adjusted, always doing the right thing, very understanding until that moment when they just spitefully closed the rift. And that was the one moment of weakness where they find that's how they lost their temper, was taking away Rick's arc. I get where you're coming from, where it's like, oh, but that just kind of left me feeling a little empty about it, but it didn't bug me because I loved it. It was like, that was kind of funny that's how the dinosaurs got back at him. Anyway, Meryl, go ahead.
Let me also add, I think everyone on this panel can agree this has been the best season of Rick and Morty in years.
Yes,
Yeah, correct.
100%. And we've sung the praises about how it really seems to have found its voice. It's more comfortable than ever. There's a cadence and a punctuality to everything that is just a bliss for me.
A big reason for that is a return to episodic storytelling. It has said, you know what, the canon's great. We have this big world and toy box we can play in now, but the over adherence to the lore was absolutely driving the show down. And this to me is like the final closing of that chapter of that's it. The canon, it's not done. It's never fully dead, but this adherence to it's we're just gonna have some fun.
Lock it in, engrave it in marble on October 10th, 2022. Meryl said, that's it. The lore is closed up and won't be affecting from now on, 100 years, procedural episodes only.
We didn't even have the rift before this episode. We actually have lore bits.
Wait, they had some reason that the portal guns wouldn't work.
Well, yeah,
I thought the rift was in the first episode when the portal gun stopped. Right?
Okay, but other than the portal thing,
they never referenced it.
It never came up again until they needed to mention it in a. Hey, by the way, they did it previously in this episode as well, which they don't do.
Doesn't that mean that it doesn't matter that they closed it fast? That you forgot it was there anyway.
Well,
and they even say that in the episode.
Yeah, in the opening, in the very first scene.
But yes, they put down a plate and they picked it back up. But there are still hanging chads on this season. There's all of the stuff with the what is his name? Ted? No, the Morty, the bit of Morty that's stuck in that arcade game.
That's right.
I don't think that's back this season.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
there's also Cool Rick, the ultimate bad guy.
We saw Space Beth rolling around. That is kind of unresolved.
I don't know if Space Beth is unresolved and that she it's just a character.
She's just a cool aunt.
She's part of the ensemble. As for Cool Rick,
stepmom.
Cool Rick is absolutely going to make a comeback in the finale. I'm sure of that. I think that's what they set up at the end of the premiere. But I think but that's how normal, quote unquote, normal shows work. You have your serialized moments happen at the beginning and end of seasons, but everything in the middle is just fun adventures. And I think they were really getting away from that the last few years, which is why this season feels so good.
But again, 95% of this episode being high effort, very tight, very rewarding. And again, they painted it red that Rick was our proxy. Rick was angry that he was denied the opportunity to to make, as he says, a season-long arc out of it, or at least three episodes or whatever. He accurately said the thoughts in my head. And again, we're talking about the last 5% of this story. 95% of it is extremely
How did you feel
good.
when he started shooting the portal gun off? Like, here we go, classic adventures. Yeah, we just go into places. Hats will wear people's hats. Let's go. How did that land?
That you needed to show, you needed to prove to the audience that that we're doing a reset of the rules back to original rules, and that is as fine a slapstick way to demonstrate it as anything else. And I enjoyed that for torturing Morty was funny.
All right, so we still love this episode.
It's a great episode.
95% of it.
It's a great episode, except for the part where they decided not to have a moral. I don't know.
How about that post-credit scene?
Boy, everybody
those
really loves
dinosaurs
morals.
can shred.
Those dinosaurs really ruled
That
it.
was a good payoff.
Actually, that was a pretty great callback to like, oh, we discovered that the dinosaurs were always hit by the angry meteor people. Look, they pretended like dinosaurs skateboarded in this one. How stupid is that? Then, like, that's
I
not
like
stupid at
that.
all.
That
That's
was
what they do.
It was good.
I loved the drop-in joke of Rick. I'm going to drop in, and he just immediately crashes. Oh, it's the hardest thing to do. I'm so
which was
good at
maybe
Tony
the-
Hawk
It looks so
3.
easy on the video game.
It was also like if you watch the blocking of that sequence, that particular moment, it really felt like a nice like Simpsons reference to when Homer falls off the cliff.
You're right. It was the kind of just overly long. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is Rick and Morty season 6, episode 6. Let's get to She-Hulk season 1, episode 8.
All right, I'll speak for Bryce on this one.
Ribbit and
I
ribbit.
hated this one just like all the others.
This one was great.
Oh,
This
wait.
one was awesome.
Okay, good, because I loved it
Oh,
too.
thank God.
Okay,
so-
can everybody
okay.
we don't need everybody to do the exact. Okay, we got.
No, I'm with
I
you.
hate Matt Murdock.
This
Okay.
was great. This was so much fun, laughing so hard out loud. I like the jauntier, more athletic, more self-aware and cool with himself Matt Murdock. I love the hookup. I laughed out. I burst out laughing with seeing Daredevil do the walk of shame the next day.
Oh my
That was
God.
good.
It was
That
it
the
was
best. In
great.
fact, that scene
And
is
then
why
they
I think his
called it
suit.
out.
That scene is why I think his suit is the way it is, because I gotta say, in the low lighting, in the darkness, I don't love the yellow and red, but in the Walk of Shame daylight sequence, that yellow and red pops so well that I was like, oh, it was all for that shot.
And I love that they call it out. And like, I just saw a guy in a devil suit doing a walk of shame. And then you just see Jen give like sort of the look like, oh, that was you.
Not for nothing. I felt genuine chemistry
Yes.
between the characters, and
Yeah.
and that's tough to fake.
This also felt like a real sort of clapback to all the how come no one in the MCU blanks. Like this is like, well, here's all the blanking you can get. Like, so I think that as well. Here's what I'll say about this episode. It's so good, it hurt all the episodes that came before it. Because the thing I realized in watching this episode is, no, I want to see Jen kicking butt. As She-Hulk. I want to see her in the suit. I want to see her doing the superhero thing. And the fact that all the other episodes before this didn't have it, and we finally got here, makes it clear to me that no, I really needed this. I still need it at the end of
Meryl,
the day. You can't just not do
I
it.
would like to offer you my sincere congratulations. Your certificate is in the mail. You have pulled off a perfect trifecta of having my exact opposite opinion. Because I want a quirky lawyer comedy. I want Ally McBeal with She-Hulk, and that's what I got, and I'm loving it.
I actually don't.
I'm not knocking.
This is not my favorite episode of the season either. I will part ways with you there, but it's super fun, and it's super fun for different reasons. And I think the key with She-Hulk is that they have kept you interested by not doing the same episode every time and showing you lots of different aspects of not only Jen and She-Hulk, but the world that they're in, without losing sight of the world that they're in.
I think that the line that they give to Matt is perfect when he says to Jen, I think Jen Walters helps people with the law, and then She-Hulk cuts people when the law is not sufficient enough. I'm like, yeah, that's what the show should have always been, and it kind of hasn't been until
Well, it's
now.
because Jen
by
hasn't
the way,
realized that.
not shown on camera right now is both Bryce and I not shaking our heads. No.
This is episode 8. It's the first season. I'm on the other side now.
Well, the way I look at it is Jen didn't know that. Jen didn't want to be She-Hulk. Jen didn't want to use She-Hulk's powers for anything unless she had to. And mostly she was using it to kind of look cool when she went into the red carpet. And Matt Murdock, part of the reason he's attractive is that he was able to help her wrap her head around She-Hulk and accept that part of herself that she was having a hard time accepting. And I think it would have felt cheap if that was happening earlier.
All right,
I don't know.
two equally important questions. How much did we like her outfit now that it's revealed?
I like it. Dig it. Love
Yep.
it.
That's great.
Oh, I thought you meant the sparkly dress. You mean the She-Hulk.
No, that was fabulous, of course, but specifically the first time we've seen her in her superhero costume.
Got it.
Worth noting, I guess it's purple, like classic Hulk, but also slightly reminiscent of She-Hulk was briefly, she took the place of the Thing in the Fantastic Four in the comic book series.
Okay.
This seems slightly reminiscent of her outfit there. And how about that ending that lingered on a very long time? And she kept saying, I wonder if anything's about to happen. And then something happened.
I thought that it was fine. It moves the chess piece that needed to be moved for the final showdown between her and this organization. It was a little clunky overall, but it was just a necessary chess piece move. And I think that they call that out by her saying like, wait, this episode got wrapped up in a nice little bow. What are we still doing here? Why are you guys still here? Oh, am I about to be fridged? Like or is there gonna be a Red Hulk? I think they acknowledge it as much as we felt it. Where there's smoother ways to do it, probably. But this is also the problem with only having 9 episodes. This feels like a show that really wants to be 13 episodes and was only given 9. But it's fine. I'm interested to see where we go from here. I'm kind of bummed there's only 1 episode left though.
Something I had liked about this season, or I guess about the She-Hulk character, was that they started off saying like, hey, I don't have the Hulk's problem. I don't have a second guy in here having an identity. This is just me the whole time. And the past few episodes, Jen has been doing the like third person talkie of like, well, She-Hulk is so strong, but Jen is so empathic or what have you.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe we're seeing a slow divide.
Well, and so the question is like, for the end of the episode when She-Hulk shouts, is that still how feral is? I mean, they're pointing guns at her. They're trying to contain her. This is a big move. How do we feel about that?
She has the stare into camera, which I think is meant to imply that it's Jen. It's Jen, and it's our Jen. We know it's Jen, but I think it's her having this internal struggle of she just lost full control. That she lost sight of her own strength, and that she can lose sight of her own strength in a fit of rage, which may not necessarily mean that she hulks out and goes into a different split personality, but that she has a lot of power and strength she's holding back and this center over the top.
She's still just a person that can lose their temper. We've all done it, right? And so she's no different.
And
just
this is
larger consequences.
This is pure fan speculation, but I can see a second season arc, fingers crossed, where maybe she gets more severe as She-Hulk and begins to worry that, like her cousin Bruce, she is splitting. And wouldn't it be great if she goes unironically to Tim Roth to help her resolve those issues?
That's a story.
Yeah.
Now that's a story I'm not going to hate the ending of.
And
Oh, don't worry. They'll cheapen
the other
at the end.
thing. The other thing I'm realizing is in this episode they call out multiple times of all the property damage Jen is committing. That Matt calls it out, and it's like, oh, I didn't even. I'm now putting in my head just now realizing it's like, oh, they keep calling out in this episode that she has the capability to do damage and she doesn't realize it. And Matt even calls her.
As soon as she landed on that car, I was like, "Oh man, I'd be really bummed if that was my car." And I just picked it up.
Speculation. Just as it is not random that she said Red Hulk, because Red Hulk, they're setting up like a bad guy version of the superheroes. Red Hulk is one of the characters in that. It is not random that we're seeing wanton destruction that feels out of place, because upcoming in the Marvel, everyone will watch every comic turned into a TV show or whatever, is damage control, which is in the rules of the MCU. There's a lot of things that get blown up. There's just a place called damage control that swoops in, and it's about everyday workaday blue collar jocks.
Well, they
who have
tried
clean up.
they tried to make that show. That was supposed to be a show that was going to happen, and then they canned it.
Oh, did they
but
can
Damage
it?
Control's been-
Okay.
Well, there was
well,
that insurance one that was on NBC, was it? But was that
That was
Marvel?
No, that was
DC, though.
DC. That was
Oh,
That
DC.
was, and it was a
Um,
comedy.
but
It had
but-
Hudgens in it. It was really
The-
funny though.
The reason they killed the Damage Control sitcom that was supposed to be on ABC when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was still a thing was because Feige was like, I want to use it in Spider-Man. So they went to Spider-Man, and they were a big part of Miss Marvel. So I'm not saying Damage Control isn't wrong. I'm not saying, Brian, that they won't revisit. They couldn't revisit Damage Control down the road. But they really haven't been using Damage Control for what Damage Control is canonically in the comics. They've been kind of using it as the new S.H.I.E.L.D. In the last few
Interesting.
iterations of it.
Also, the initials of damage control are DC.
You're gonna get me back into.
I really
seventh
like.
grade.
I really liked the moment in the bar, by the way, between Jen and
Matt.
And Matt.
There sparks fly immediate,
and-
right?
Yes.
And I love the shot where they're talking across the corner of the bar,
Uh-huh.
and Matt goes to the bartender like, "Hey, do you mind?" And the bartender is moving his drink. I really like that they did a very soft touch with like, "Hey, he's blind. We don't need to tell you how blind he is.
Right.
He's yes, he's blind." And
Hi, I'm Matt Murdock, sightless guy. Yeah.
he even does this little hand thing when he moves over to Jen to indicate like, "Hey, can you put my drink at my hand?" And so that's why she does it. It's great. It's such a good little character, little detail.
Yeah, it was great, and I hope that she shows up in the upcoming Daredevil show that'll be in 2024. I hope she's a part of that in some capacity. But yeah, I love them both. I want a She-Hulk Daredevil series, like limited series run, some kind. But yeah, it was the two of them together. It was great, and of course they were going to put the two lawyers together at some capacity, and I think that they knew
not
everyone was
of course, given the tangled, very real life legal difficulties of properties all over the place, and
no, that was always sorted out.
narratively fusing properties that were independent, and
Well, we still haven't gotten an answer on if that show is canonical to the Netflix
nothing's
one or not.
canonical. Everything's canonical. Now that they've said the word multiverse, everything is everything, and up is down.
Right. But ultimately, in the end, it's like I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm glad how that episode, the one episode arc resolves. It was just it was everything I wanted out of Matt Murdock's full
Beatmaster
return to
80
the MCU.
has it. Do we think Matt is going to end up representing Jen Walters?
I'd like that.
Yeah.
I would like that a
Also,
lot.
is he licensed to practice in California and New York?
Well, he's got to be. If he wasn't,
in
then
court
he wouldn't
together.
have been able to He wouldn't have been able to work the other case.
Okay, if you're
The-
asking these questions, you're missing the awesome sex that they had.
No, because I've been sitting here thinking, okay, Murdoch, Walter, the ship name has to be Murder.
Okay, all right. Good.
I hardly know her.
Good
End this
episode.
That is She-Hulk Season 1, Episode 8. Now, folks, we didn't talk about it in the Rick and Morty spoiler in time, but at the end of Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 6, they say they'll be back November 20th, which leaves us with a slot in Spoiler in Time to start rewatching Miami Vice.
Yes!
So next week, She-Hulk 109, Lower Decks 308, and Miami Vice Season 3, Episode 10 called Streetwise with guest star Bill Paxton. That will be our Spoiler in Time next week. Meryl Barr, thanks again for hanging out with us, man. Remind folks where they can find what you do online.
MERRILLBARR. And let me just say, I was saying this in the between moments. Tom's podcast, The Word with Tom Merritt, is fantastic, and you should all go listen to it. I'm going to use my time to plug Tom's podcast.
Thanks, Meryl. That's awfully nice of you. Folks, we will be back with Spoiler in Time next week. See you then.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.